Welcome everybody to the Green Fork Food for Thought podcast. Today's guest is Patrick Campbell. He is a chiropractor. He's the owner of Ecotone Health. It's a business that focuses on performance and recovery using a variety of modalities such as assessment and recovery tools to help people correct their bodily imbalances and unlock their true potential.
Man, I love that.
Yeah.
Did that come from me or did you come up with that?
Came up with that, man.
Yeah, I'm going to steal it.
Yeah, go for it. Welcome, Pat. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah.
I got to know you through some mutual friends.
Yeah.
And came to check out what you're all about, what you do.
Yeah.
And I was thoroughly impressed. I loved every second of it, and I walked away with some useful information. So I thought it'd be cool to have you on here. This podcast is all about all-encompassing wellness, nutrition, mindset, physical performance, athletics, art, creativity, financial stuff, everything. So
I've listened to quite a few episodes.
Oh yeah, good.
Awesome. I find for myself, there's so many great people that are doing things that are similar, and sometimes it's tough to get on people's schedules, but when you have podcasts, you get to know people that maybe I just haven't had time to meet or that I want to go out and meet because of things like this. So
yeah,
I've listened to quite a few.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, that makes me feel good.
Yeah, they're out there, man.
Yeah.
It's out there.
Cool. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about who you are, how you got started in this field, and what you like about it and all that.
Sure. You want the long version or the Cliff Notes?
Take as long as you want.
Yeah. So licensed as a chiropractor.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated in 2015 from University of Bridgeport. I always thought, truthfully, I thought I was going to be a horseshoer because my dad's a farrier.
Okay.
I grew up playing baseball. I played in high school. I was lucky enough to play a few years in college. And I always just assumed I would just play in college and then be done with it and maybe take up the family trade.
Yeah.
And kind of my senior year, I took a biology class. I liked it.
Yeah.
When I was looking at colleges, I was looking at athletic training and exercise science, landed on exercise science, and I really got into that world of movement.
Yeah.
So I went to undergrad. I bopped around a little bit. I was at a small Division III school. Then I transferred to a junior college, had shoulder surgery. I like to think it was because I was such a good patient. At some point, the therapist hired me as a tech. So I was working as a rehab tech. I was finishing my degree at Towson in exercise science. I worked in a strength and conditioning facility. The guy who owned the facility was the former Orioles strength coach and then branched out and had a private facility.
Very cool.
And I thought that was the direction that I was going to go, and realized that the job market wasn't great for that high end, whether it was private strength and conditioning or even the collegiate setting. It was a tough market. I think now things are slightly different. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, I haven't really been looking around too much, but my son is interested in going to school for physical therapy, and he wants to work with athletes. So we got to look into that because, it is kind of a niche market, right?
Very much so.
Yeah.
And I was in the PT clinic was great, but it was a lot of, even though it was an orthopedic clinic, it was a lot of post-op cases.
Yeah.
And I always thought that I would go to PT school. Didn't go to PT school. I wound up going the route of chiropractic. I felt like chiropractic gave me a better opportunity to create the world that I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
There's chiropractors that do something similar to what I do. There's some that are family wellness clinics where all they do is adjust people and provide lifestyle and wellness information and coaching. There's nutrition. There's specialties in radiology. There's all these different routes that you could go.
Yeah.
And truthfully, I wasn't a great standardized test taker, and I don't know if I would have passed what was it? It would have been the GRE. I don't know. There was a grad school test that you had to take.
Yeah.
I had the grades, but the standardized test was not great, and it was really competitive. I remember there was another tech that he was in his second year of waiting to get into PT school because it was so competitive.
Yeah.
So anyway, I digress. But went to Bridgeport. Did 4 years there, moved out to Texas, worked for a kind of a bigger company. It was called Arasti Rehab Centers. Their model was really focused on myofascial work.
Yeah.
In conjunction with corrective exercise. So I did that and then moved back here to get closer to family and friends, and took a job locally, and then eventually started Ecotone kind of as a little bit of a side hustle that then became the main thing.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
that's where I am. I originally opened it out of a wellness center in Troy. Just gradually grew it, and now I'm back here in Saratoga because that's where we live, and so that's where I am.
Yeah, and you have a nice facility up there on Broadway.
Got real lucky.
Yeah.
I've been moonlighting out of gyms and other people's facilities for so long.
That's how we mentioned we knew Anthony from Train HD.
Yeah. And I about 3-4 days a month, I'm still at his facility. When I transitioned from the wellness center in Troy, Anthony was nice enough to have space for me at his place. So I was seeing people over there, and then we were looking around for a space in Saratoga, and we saw it and went in, and now we're all go.
Yeah, that's great. How did you go from were you ever just straight like chiropractor? I know you said there's a bunch of avenues. Most of the time when I've seen a chiropractor, I just pretty much get adjusted.
Yeah.
And that guy's great. He'll tell me a little bit about like what's going on in my body and what I can do to adjust and maintain or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's mostly just adjustments. There's no like assessments or movement, anything really.
And I think some of that, like when we're trained up in school, a lot of the assessment that you do is with your hands. So a lot of times people, I don't want to say they don't realize that the provider is assessing things, but getting on a joint segment and, springing it, slight maneuvers, somebody's face down on the table, you're looking at posture. So it's still going on. I think it's almost subconscious in nature. You're on autopilot mode.
Yeah.
I never worked in a facility that was kind of a strict like wellness adjusting clinic. I'd shadowed those and I'd seen them, and I think the adjustment is a really powerful tool. And that was my story was, I feel like everybody has an injury and then has some sort of treatment.
It's been a common thread out here. Yeah.
Yeah. I had really quick responses with manipulation. Mm-hmm. Couldn't turn my head, see a chiropractor, they adjust it. A couple of days later, I'm back, and it just seemed like such a powerful modality.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I was in and out of gyms. I was at that strength and conditioning facility, and everybody had aches and pains, even if they're working. And I'm sure you see this now.
Yeah.
And I go, there's got to be something to bridge the gap, or there's got to be somebody.
Yeah.
So that was 2000. I graduated Towson 2011. So 2009, 2010, I was kind of thinking of that model. Now it's everywhere.
Yeah.
If you're like a forward thinking movement, strength coach, PT, chiropractor, athletic trainer, like you're in a gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the new business model.
Yeah, I think that things are becoming a lot more holistic in nature, whereas, you'd go to see your trainer for fitness stuff or workouts, then you'd see your chiropractor, you'd see your physical therapist, you'd see like all these other people. Now it's sort of kind of combining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting world where there's and I'd be curious your opinion too, like where's everybody's lane now? Because everybody's overlapping.
I try to stay in my lane. My lane is nutrition and fitness.
Yeah.
And so if somebody has an injury or something, I don't like to give advice, there, because I'll say like, strengthen your core. If your low back hurts, strengthen your core.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But for the most part, I leave that to people like you. I leave that up to you guys.
Well, no, and I think that's great. It's just sometimes people are just so comfortable in their space, and they have such trust with their coaches that, you say strengthen their core, and they're okay, got it.
Yeah.
Back is fixed or whatever the issue is.
Yeah.
And even from my end, I can give people nutritional advice to a certain degree. I can give people strength and conditioning advice, but the clinic really isn't the place for it.
Yeah.
It's this weird world where I feel like healthcare providers are trying to be strength coaches a little bit, and some strength coaches are going or fitness, right?
Yeah.
Are kind of shifting into like the rehab and movement.
Yep.
It's an interesting place to be in.
Yeah.
Not bad, just
Yeah. I mean, you want to grow and you want to learn. Right?
Yeah.
So if I'm a fitness coach, I can stay in that lane forever, or I can grow and branch and learn more about, say, FRC or whatever, and I can utilize that with my clients.
And isn't it interesting how the growth occurs where, a healthcare provider is growing into strength and conditioning and fitness, and in fitness, it's growing into more like movement science.
Yeah.
And it feels like they're just on a trajectory to come
It's a good thing.
No, it is.
I think it's great.
A little riff there, but
yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, I think you're going to start seeing that. One of my dreams is to build a center that has, like a gym in it, a yoga studio, a place for chiropractors, physical therapists, actual mental health therapists, like an all-encompassing wellness center with all the things you can think of.
Yeah.
Under one roof. So, because normally, like I said, if there's people with injuries in the gym, I'll refer them out to people that I know. But to be able to say, hey, he's right over there, go talk to him right now.
I know. There's so much power in that. And do you all at Battleground have somebody in-house now or no?
No, a lot of people see this guy, Dr. Pat, down in Clifton Park. He's a chiropractor, I think pretty much just does adjustments. And
sure.
It's the guy I was talking about before. He's a great guy. Shout out Dr. Pat. Also another Patrick.
I was going to say another Dr.
Pat. He's with Ferguson. In Clifton Park. So I know a lot of people see him for that kind of thing, but Coach Kenny comes and sees you. There's this woman, Sarah Avery.
Oh, yeah.
Who does physical therapy right up the road.
We connected years ago. I see her at Crew sometimes.
Yeah. So, we keep it local and we have people that we refer out to for stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Kira was in there too for a little bit, right?
Yes. Yeah. She was an athletic trainer and she did a lot of different things. And now she's in nutrition therapy. We're doing cool stuff with that. So a lot of stuff going on. A lot of cool people in the community, right? They have sort of a niche thing that they do. And it's cool to be able to have friends that you can refer out to and we can all work together and help the community. I
think that's the thing too. Like everybody, my approach is probably different than this person and that person. That's okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's better that way. Because like you said, like the people that I have on the podcast, you learn something different. I've had maybe 3 or 4 fitness coaches on here, but they all have a different story and a different method to approach things. And, what might click with one person doesn't click for another. So you got to hear it a certain way. It's got to be brought to you a different way. And it's just good to have all those opportunities.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So my visit with you was pretty cool. And I want to talk about that a little bit.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I came in, I wanted to analyze my gait, like my running form or whatever. And you have a couple of different assessment tools over there. First we did, I'll let you explain it. What did we do?
We just took a bunch of data.
Yeah.
So,
but that program was so cool. You filmed me doing like a forward fold,
a
single leg thing, a squat, all kinds of movements. And then based on that, it was able to tell you like, what's going on in my hip, my knee, my ankle, whatever. Yeah.
So, Kinetisense is a 3D motion capture system. Yeah. So I don't know how they did it, but they're able to utilize either a special camera or the iPad Pro. You can actually run the program right through that, which is very nice and convenient. And essentially what it is it's measured up against, I believe it's called Vicam, which is where if you were to go into a green room and put the spandex suit on and the little dots.
Oh yeah.
I think they're within, a 3 to 5%. So it's a university grade tested device. And what they did was they took common movements that are in movement screening literature. So for the screen that we did with you, we did spinal flexion, spinal extension, side bending both ways, an overhead squat, an overhead lunge, a dynamic posture test where you're standing and just rotating the shoulders, a single leg balance test with your eyes closed, and then a vertical jump test.
Which I failed. that single leg balance test.
You're not the only one. You're not the last one. But it's enlightening for a lot of people to kind of realize that eyes open, eyes closed is a different game.
Yeah, it sure is.
And what it does is it's taking the information that's in the lab setting. So while you're moving, it's tracking you to create a 3D picture. And then their kind of secret sauce is with that test at the end of it, they create what's called a functional planar map, meaning that it will, depending on the way you specify it, I have it at the two most dysfunctional joints for upper extremity, lower extremity, and spine. So it'll key into, do you have a mobility or stability need at either the cervical spine, the thoracic spine, the scapula, shoulder, elbow, just name the rest of the joints, right?
Right.
And it'll score those. So on the test of, 100% based on all these movements, every time you move in a suboptimal way, it starts docking you, and then their algorithm kind of gives you this printout.
Yeah.
It's eerily accurate.
Yeah. It's such a cool tool to me to just give you that feedback, where you yourself are a movement screener. You have eyes, like you said before, as a chiropractor, just seeing the way people move, and you can tell if somebody has a thoracic spine issue, if they're limited in motion. But this thing does that for you, kind of, it's a little bit more detailed, I guess you could say.
I always tell people it's an objective way for me to go back and say it's either better or worse. Like, right. I can't input anything. Like, I can coach you on how to move, but it's very much if somebody follows the program and they're progressing, like oftentimes those metrics get better.
Yeah.
Oftentimes if somebody does nothing, like it stays the same.
Yeah.
And then depending on where they are with their sport or activity, sometimes like in running, for instance, if you just, skipped kind of the self-care stuff or, your strength workouts, your body's going to start to adapt to running. Mm-hmm. So you're going to probably start to lose hip extension, thoracic extension, ankle range of motion. It shows up there. Yeah. And that's where you see like the real drop off. So for some people, I'm like, hey, you're about to go through a training cycle. The idea isn't to necessarily get 100% on the test. I just want to see, are you good enough to be doing the things that you want to do? Where do we have to program, whether it's mobility or stability, whatever that kind of looks like, just things to optimize, right?
Yeah.
And then it's also a little accountability, because I tell people, I'm like, in 4 to 8 weeks, we're going to rescreen.
Yeah.
And I'm either going to look good, you're going to look good, or, maybe we're not going to look great together. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. You can't cheat that thing.
No, I don't think you can.
Yeah.
And I've used them now for almost like 2 or 3 years, I think. And I kind of know what to expect. I tell people I like to see them at about, on an overall score, it scores you out of 100%. I like to see 80 or above. Mm-hmm. I think that's usually the indicator for somebody is moving well enough. Once you get into like 83 to 87, it's really hard to like bump it up.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen anybody hit 90 yet. Yeah. There's a few people that are chasing 90s.
So you said something that was interesting to me, that, sport specific training. So if you're training running primarily, exclusively, that's going to also cause you to have insufficiencies, I guess you could say, other imbalances in other places. So if you're constantly training running, you're not going to be as flexible. You're not going to be as total body optimized as someone that's just kind of training for overall wellness. Same thing with, let's say, jiu-jitsu or baseball or any sport. Your body's going to become adapted to that. How important is it to do these recovery things and work mobility training and joint specific training in addition to your specific sport?
The analogy that I use for folks is, imagine if you had a hallway in your house and you just roped off a really narrow section and you could only walk up and down that section.
Yeah. At
some point, that area is going to it's going to get beat up kind of quick, whether it's dirty, there's scuffs on the floor, whatever it is. Yeah. I look at it as like, how much of a buffer can we give you to have more space to move, or, more range of motion, more capacity, whatever that is, because you're right. The sport that you're performing, like, sports aren't normal.
Right.
I'm a baseball fan. It's not normal to take a baseball, throw it as hard as you can, 60 to 80 times, like max velocity, and then do it every 5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or golf.
It's going to cause some wear and tear.
Yeah. And your body's going to start to adapt to that, whether that's joint specific stuff, whether that's connective tissue, neurological stuff. I mean, I know you play golf, right?
Yeah.
One of the cool things that I've seen in the golf world is they talk about one way to improve your performance is to just take the side that you dominantly throw on and start throwing the opposite side.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And it feels really awkward and goofy, but you're just trying to create a little bit of balance. So sports aren't normal. And that also goes for lifting, like patternized lifting and patternized yoga. I know, like I'm kind of
watch out. Watch what you say.
Those patterns, if your hip doesn't move the way that a warrior pose is designed for you to do, like that's going to create issues above and below that area.
Yeah.
And so patternized training it's very similar to sport training.
Right.
And I think we're going to see in like 10 years, because right now everybody's on the fitness train.
Oh yeah.
Lift heavy weights, build muscle mass, and for good reasons, right? Like we know that muscle mass is an important part of longevity.
Right.
Osteoporosis is a real thing. Like there's so many benefits to it. But if you don't have the prerequisites to move, we're going to run into an issue at some point.
Yeah. Funny thing about golf, did you see Happy Gilmore 2 yet?
Yes.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was funny. I thought it was really good. But that one team, they separate a ligament in the hip so they could get more rotation, and that's how they drove the ball further.
They said they cut the iliolumbar ligament. That's a real ligament.
I don't know if it gets you 50 more yards out of your drive, though.
I mean, they were talking like 150. Yeah, I think those guys were hitting it.
That's nuts.
They're 500 yards.
So if you're looking at like an athlete, right, you want to make sure that they're not overusing, that movement pattern.
Yeah,
right?
You want to give them a buffer.
Yeah.
And you mentioned FRC. I run a lot of my thought process through FRC.
Functional range conditioning.
Functional range conditioning. I've gone through their assessment course, their mobility course, and then they have a strength model course, which are all fantastic. They're all great. But they talk about their motor learning in their world. They utilize dynamic systems theory. And I might butcher this a little bit, but the idea is that there's no pattern that you're doing over and over in your brain again. Like you don't necessarily have a squat pattern where like you can reproduce the same squat over and over and over again. Dynamic systems theory is talking about your ability to produce the same movement over and over again is a byproduct of your ability to move in the greatest range through all the joints that you need for that activity.
Yeah.
So, and the example that they often use as a golfer, if patternized training was real, the best golfer would hit it down the fairway every single time. They wouldn't hook it, they wouldn't slice it. Like, obviously if you're a recreational golfer,
Yeah, that's really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you can give yourself more ability to create movement in your capability or in your capacity, you're likely a better mover.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I think it's we're talking about like joint health and all the little minor details that go into these things that we talk when we think about performance. Those have to be at a base level taken care of. I've
gone through the FRC system. I've gone through a couple other movement systems, and I think everybody is pretty much saying the same thing. They have their own spin on how they get there, but a lot of people, it comes down to, do you have normative range of motion? Do you have control of that motion? And that should probably be a prerequisite for whatever activity you want to do.
For anything else, if you're an athlete of any sort, right?
Yeah.
One of the big things that I always like to talk about is the difference between flexibility and mobility.
Sure.
Flexibility, the ability to reach a certain range of motion, and then mobility, to be able to articulate and control through that range of motion.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that when you're talking about mobility is more important. I mean, you need both,
Yeah.
right? You want to obviously get to, not everybody's going to be super bendy and double jointed yogis that can get into crazy postures. And I don't think that's necessarily great anyways, but if you can get to those deep ranges of motion and be able to be strong there and control it, that's what the goal is. That's optimal.
Yeah. When I went through functional range assessment, which is the assessment component of FRC, it's probably the most comprehensive exam that you could take somebody through, but it also takes like 2 to 3 hours to do it really well.
Yeah.
And that's not an exaggeration or like a flex. It's just because there's so many joints. And what they do is they look at 2 motions. They call it linear motion, and then they look at rotational motion. So linear motion would be on the table. You're going to look at passive range of motion through all the planes. So the shoulder, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to go through flexion, extension, internal, external rotation, abduction, adduction, right? You're going to measure passive range of motion versus active range of motion. And then you're going to take that person, you're going to have them go through what they call a CAR, a controlled articular rotation. And that's the rotational capacity of that joint.
Yeah.
And, so when you're talking about balancing that is the system of, you take somebody through it and their shoulder might move great through flexion. You go, okay, now you do it. And I think in their world, if you're not within 15 degrees, it's a problem.
Yeah.
That's kind of why, you went through the Kinetisense exam.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
And the data is pretty, it's not quite the same, but it's enough for me to go shoulder, to kind of pick things.
Yeah. Versus
that exam is you're meant to look at everything from spinal articulation to every joint. And then you would know okay, you've got, a right wrist issue, a left big toe, a knee that doesn't rotate. But then I do struggle with how much of that is overkill and overwhelming for the person.
I guess you got to pick what works and what doesn't.
But then everybody wants to, live pain-free and not have an issue and be bulletproof. And
nobody wants to take the time to do it. I know for myself, it took me 3 or 4 injuries going to physical therapy and finally being okay, I'm going to sit down and do this.
What injuries did you have?
My back. I have a slightly bulging disc in my lower back. I messed up my knee in jiu-jitsu, and I never got an X-ray or MRI, but it was definitely a ligament issue in my knee, and rehabbed that with Sarah's help.
Nice.
So she would work on it. She would kind of do some manual release and stuff, and then gave me the exercises to do as homework. And now, really, before I do any type of workout, it's a 30-minute warm-up kind of thing that I have to do. I have to mobilize, stabilize, make sure my psoas isn't firing super hard, and all kinds of things before I can even really get started with a lifting session or whatever.
Do you feel like you perform better after you do that stuff prior to?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It just unlocks so much. And let me tell you, when you're doing these FRC things, or if you go to a workshop, a fitness workshop, I did a landmine one, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they have us do mobility and stability work, and they have us do everything at a painstakingly slow pace. So if you're talking about a hip car or something where you're lifting your leg up and just, trying to get maximum range of motion, but you're tense, there's tension there the whole time, that's a lot of work. You're sweating. And people wouldn't think, oh, you're just lifting your leg and moving really slow. But if you do it right, intense focus and concentration, and I'm sweating.
If you ever have the chance to go to an FRC live, they'll take somebody and they'll put them through a CAR assessment, and the people are up there and they're just they're going through this max level effort. Yeah. They look at them and they go, "That's 1 rep."
Yeah, man. But you really do feel so much stronger doing those. I would call them PT exercises, whatever, but they're just regular exercises. Something like a Patrick step or something,
It's a Patrick step.
Where you're, say you're elevated, 1 foot's elevated and you're at an angle, so your heel's elevated, and you go a little bit knees over toes and step. Something like that, do it painstakingly slow, and it's working very small muscles and putting tension on the tendons and ligaments. But when you do that type of stuff, you just feel so much stronger in a different way, you know?
Yeah.
Like I can pull a heavy deadlift and feel like raw, you know? But going through more joint specific training is like, I just feel so much more, I don't know, more better.
Well, they talk about and again, I'm like, I sound like a FRC, I'm a crazy person, but like they talk about this priority of the joint outbound because of the nerve innervation that goes directly to the brain that gives, kind of tells the brain what you have access to.
Yeah.
So to me, that makes sense if you do joint specific work first and you feel more neurologically like in tune.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you put a flashlight on, you go, here's what we got today.
Yeah. 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 I try to talk to people about this. It's a little nerdy. It's a little like, exercise science nerdy, but I love it. So when we talk about like muscle recruitment, we're talking about a neurological signal from the brain to tell the muscles, okay, you're picking up something heavy, or it's time to work. And a lot of times the connection between the smaller muscles and the joints and stuff isn't as strong, right? And it gets overlooked, and that's when imbalances happen. So to be able to recruit at a maximum level from all your muscles, not just the big ones, you need to do that type of training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the more workspace you have, the more you can recruit.
Exactly. I know a guy, I'd love to have him on here. He's crazy about FRC, and he's one of the strongest dudes I know.
Is it Strange?
Strange Grayson, yeah. Grayson. I do jiu-jitsu with him. He's a really great guy, and he loves that FRC stuff, and it works for him.
Yeah. I mean, you see the stuff that he puts out there. I know of him through some people locally that have been like, you got to connect with him.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Real cool guy.
Should have a big, like a round table podcast.
Yes, that would be cool.
Need like 6 mics.
Yeah, that might get a little chaotic, but we can make it work.
Could be fun.
Another thing I did with you was the running assessment.
Oh, yeah.
That was really cool. So I'm actually training for a half marathon in September. And so just to get like a good base, I wanted to see, where I'm at.
Your score was real good.
Yeah, I found, so what was happening to me when I would run, and it doesn't happen so much anymore since I switched shoes.
What'd you switch to?
Ultras.
Well, you were in ultras, right?
Because you brought barefoot, like
like
little to no padding and no what's it called when the toe like kind of slants upwards, so you get that.
Oh, stack height?
Something like that. Yeah, where like it's got like a slant in the front of the toes, so that you can kind of push off a little bit more.
Like a rocker.
It's more ergonomic, whatever. And I don't want a ton of padding under my feet. I ran barefoot for years. But recently, what was happening to me is my shins were blowing up, and my calves and shins, and so I wanted to come see you and see what you knew about that, and just see kind of where I'm at and what I can do to maximize my running output, right?
Yeah.
And, just get a good sense for it. And what I learned was that I kind of pressed off of my right foot a little bit more.
Yeah, I can't remember your exact data.
I did. I pushed off the right foot a little bit more, so there was a little inconsistency with the right to left. But I think it came upstream from my hips because this right hip it pops all the time. So I think it lacks stability.
Yeah.
And my left hip is always jammed up and tight, so it makes sense, right? So what am I doing about it? I'm trying to release this left hip a little bit more, and then doing a lot of single leg stuff to try to strengthen the smaller muscles in there. But that assessment was really cool. So
yeah, so that's called Run Easy. All these places are getting plugs. Shout out Kinetisense and Run. I've always wanted to say shout out.
Yeah,
I don't know how to do it. Run Easy is out of Belgium. So I've kind of a little sidetrack. I think one of the things as I've had my own business, like part of the stuff, the reason I bring in the tools I do is because like I'm always trying to figure out like how can I get a better outcome for somebody, and I started working with more runners, and runners are they're a very fun group to treat, but they're also very difficult because they don't want to stop.
Yeah.
They have this great ability to just like suffer, to like go into the pain cave and just go.
Like David Goggins.
Yeah.
Running on broken femurs.
And so as I was working with some more runners, I felt like I needed something to get more information. So this company, they created, they use what's called an IMU sensor. That it's a little belt that you put on, and it's basically measuring movement that's occurring from your feet up to your hips. They have a whole reason for why they kind of designed the tech the way that they did. If I remember correctly, it had to do with they kind of stumbled into it where they were trying to research runners in Belgium, and they couldn't find something that was affordable. So they actually created this device, and now is used by professional sports organizations. It's used in research, so it's pretty well backed. Yeah. But it's looking at three main things. So it's looking at symmetry, so left to right balance. It's looking at a force profile, and they measure what's called impact magnitude, which is peak force, and then impact duration, which is how well your left to right difference is able to absorb force, and then dynamic stability. And so based on they call it a running quality score. So it's a measurement of dynamic stability, impact profile, and then symmetry left to right. Yeah. So based on your run, it will tell you, hey, you have a stability issue, or you have an impact issue, or you have a side to side issue. Yeah. Which I think is really beneficial for people to know and understand, as to, why the calves are getting, why they're blowing up every time you go out for a run. Yeah. If you can look at it and you can be like, well, your dynamic stability isn't great. So now your calves are doing the work of what your hips are supposed to be doing. Right. So no wonder. Or maybe it could be a footwear issue. So yeah, that's been a really cool tool to add in. And we didn't get to do it with you, but because I wanted the data to be a certain way on a first assessment, I didn't want you really messing with it. But you can actually utilize that device, and every 5 seconds it gives you new data. So every 5 seconds, it's taking those measurements and it's spitting out a different number. You can do what's called gait retraining, where if you were, let's say that you were dealing with right-sided low back pain, and I was like, all right, I want you to try shortening your stride, and it made it better. And we see the score go up, dynamic. Now if you can lock into what that feels like, now you have this motor learning component. You can watch yourself on the screen, and if you fall off and your back pain comes back, all right, you kind of fell out of that technique, maybe not technique, but those biomechanics that were helpful. Yeah. So that's another really cool, useful thing that we can do with that tool. Yeah. So in-person live biofeedback session. Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, it's so cool. 2025, right? I know. Yeah. It is. I will say though, always trying to manage that, somebody doesn't get so locked into the data, a fitness wearable that they feel like they can't run without it. It's just, it is a tool to get you a feel, right, to then graduate you to where you want to be. Yeah. And again, it's checks and balances. I've a few runners that they come in once a month, and we do kind of a combo of running analysis, movement analysis, or recovery based on where they are in their training, just so that we can try and get ahead of things. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's tools all over the place, like nutrition trackers, all these assessment tools, and it's just provide feedback, and you can do with it what you want. But I know some people do get crazy about the wearables and the data and everything. And it's like, all right, settle down a little. And that's why when you came in, your scores were pretty good. Yeah. And I, not just for you, but for anybody, I kind of make it a point to be like, okay, there's probably not a whole lot of room for improvement here. Let's keep the baseline here. Yeah. If you start falling off, that means that you're going back to what we were talking about. Maybe you're starting to adapt in a not great way. Right. If all of a sudden those metrics are green across the board, and all of a sudden we've got a red metric, can we get ahead of this? Yeah, I think, just with my background in fitness and knowing my body and working with other people's bodies, I was able to take the information that you gave me and actually put it into practice, and because I really want to be better. Yeah. So I don't understand why people would go and spend money, get an assessment, do all these things, and then continue to do the same thing they've been doing.
doesn't make sense to me, but
Yeah.
anyways.
I mean, that's a whole.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have people that order meal services.
Yeah. Well, the whole,
Don't eat them or don't pick them up. You know?
Yeah. I don't get
Hopefully that's not the case.
No, I mean, most people do, but anyways, you also do, and you have a lot of focus on recovery. You have some tools that you use. I know you have those 2 assessment tools, but you have tons of other stuff in your gym, your office, whatever you call it, office.
I call it the HQ now.
The HQ.
I don't know.
Nice.
I call it Ecotone HQ.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Why not?
Right. Why not? Right.
So what kind of recovery tools do you have, and why is recovery so important?
So again, I think it comes back to that idea of creating a buffer, right? So I do have I have the typical recovery stuff that people have become pretty familiar with. I have a set of Normatec, leg compression, hip compression. I pair that with an anti-gravity lounger that also has built-in sound therapy and a sleep mask. I
didn't get to do that, but I want to.
No, that is I fall
asleep in there.
Yeah, I call it a reset session. What I was finding was, not that there's anything wrong with this, but I would put people in Normatec leg compression to, because they had a workout that crushed them and they were just feeling kind of burnt out. And I wanted them to just like take it easy. And then I would, they're on their phone. They're like, like most people are. So when I had the ability to kind of build it out the way that I wanted to, Therabody had this recliner chair and it had sound therapy. And I'm looking at it, I go, this thing just seems, it might have been a little extravagant, but like, business alert. First time business owner, you learn. Maybe I shouldn't have got that right away, but for people, it's almost like an adult timeout where I've had some clients come in and they're feeling like kind of stressed. I can sense it. And I'm like, hey, I need you to just like kind of like let it go for 10 or 15 minutes, because then whatever I'm doing, whether it's manual therapy, whether it's corrective exercise, whether it's adjustments, like their body will take it better. So we have that set up for recovery. I don't, sometimes people will come in and they just want to do recovery, but oftentimes it's more just for people that like are a client. It's kind of an added benefit. Like I don't really upcharge them for it unless they're like, hey, I want to do 30 minutes on my own. But if they're in a visit and I have 15 minutes, I'm like, hey, why don't you just, I'll shut the door. We turn on the salt lamp, you get the music going. The music is curated to kind of put you into a state of relaxation. And then built into the chair, they call them sound hearts. It's their own technology, but it feels like a gong bath is what it feels like. So you hear the music, but you feel it. So like I can hear the music that's playing just from the vibration of the chair. And if you couple that with like the Normatec, I have a sleep mask if we want to black out the room. It's a really nice little.
Really reset your nervous system.
Yeah, most people you kind of see it. I would say it's similar to if you saw somebody after like sawing a cold plunge, like where they just look like there's a look in their eye, right? Like there's like, oh, that was pretty good.
They're all blissed out.
I know.
In yoga.
After
a class or a gong bath or something, you're just like,
yeah. And then it's like, that's great for somebody to have that. So that's kind of like the typical stuff. I'm trained in cupping, instrument assisted, soft tissue mobile, like scraping. I do a lot of hands-on work. And then I recently added, this is like the new recovery tool. It's called TECAR therapy. So I'm going to really nerd out here for a second.
Let's go.
So it's transfer of energy, capacitive and resistive. To my knowledge, I'm the only person in the capital region that has it, or a TECAR unit, specifically the Winback, which is like one of the, it's a really nice brand that they make the unit. The next closest place would be the Red Sox. So it's like, it's that level of, not to like tout it up, but it's
baby.
I mean, it's pretty legit. But essentially what it is it's radio frequency therapy. So in, I guess the 80s or the 90s, the United States went ultrasound. Europe went TECAR. ultrasound, like people like it, but it hasn't really stood up the testament of like research, and you'll hear, a lot of the evidence-based crowd is like, we shouldn't be doing passive modalities, blah, blah, blah. I'm biased now because I have this unit, but like everybody is pushing their body to the like they don't need more exercise.
Yeah.
People need
They need more recovery.
They need more range of motion. They need more recovery.
Yeah.
They need more joint health, tissue health. So what's really nice about this device is we can layer the frequency to get the specific tissue that we want to target. So let's just say you have arthritis in a shoulder. I can use the first mode, which is called capacitive, where we use a ground plate to direct where we want the current. And the first setting will target more of the fascia and the muscle. So it'll go about 4 to 8 centimeters deep. It creates like a halo. Feels like a hot stone. It's like super pleasant. It's warm. So we use that to prep the tissue to potentially clear lymphatic channels. Like it just warms everything. It doesn't literally melt the tissue, but it just, if you've ever had body work done and like the tissue just starts to soften or you get like a trigger point release, it just does that like very quickly. Cool. The next mode is called RET. That allows us to direct the current to the level of the joint. So if we have, again, like rotator cuff pathology, arthritis, and we want to send current to that area, it's actually going the depth to that, as long as you direct it like with the ground plate.
Yeah.
We can couple that with high tens for pain control, or we can couple it with high EMS to create, you were talking about motor unit contraction, to facilitate those muscles to contract.
Okay, yeah.
Again, I'm going to like go.
That's super cool. I'm with you.
The really cool part is the device, or not the device, the current works off of resistive tissue. So when I'm treating an area and somebody has like a history of something, oftentimes that area will get hot very quick. Mm-hmm. And that's because that tissue is more resistive. So it's a better conductor for the current. Think like it's almost like the device is saturating the tissue that needs it.
Yeah.
What's also cool is with this device, like we can set it up where sticky adhesive pads, there's ways to make it very active where I could have you do all of your rehab on it too.
Wow.
So now, like, let's just say it's the shoulder, right? I could ground it at the back of the shoulder. I could put a little bracelet on. So the current is going to travel through the entire arm. You could go through rotator cuff, TRX, like as long as you're able to maintain like the cord connection, you can do your rehab with it.
Cool.
So now you saturate the tissue with movement. And that turns out to be the best like outcome for people.
Yeah, sounds amazing.
I've been blown away by the results with it.
Yeah.
The other cool thing is with the bracelets that you can put on the patient, I can also wear them. And then my hands become the conductor, so I can do my manual therapy while the person's getting current. Wow. That just makes me feel like a superhero. Like, and shout out Brenda. You can ask her. She got a little static the first time we were like demoing it because, again, like the current is always trying to find the ground plate. So like that little hover can like you feel the energy.
Yeah.
It's the most wild thing to have the bracelet on and the current going through your hand.
Yeah. Man, I got to try that. It sounds really cool.
It's for any chronic issue. It's been a game changer. Yeah. I haven't had as much with like an acute, although I have somebody with like a pretty bad case of sciatica that has responded unbelievable. And it shortens their visit frequency down. Because if we can control pain, then we jump right into the movement stuff.
Yeah.
That's the tool to just create that quick win on it.
Yeah.
So that's been my newest like gadget to, anybody. And, there are contraindications. We don't use it if somebody's pregnant, if they have an active cancer, any electrical implants, like pacemakers, insulin pumps, because it would short it. But we can use it over fracture sites. So for runners with a stress reaction, if we're looking to get them back quicker, control pain, TECAR becomes something that we can utilize. We can also utilize it with total joint, because just the way that they designed it, the current will go through like ultrasound, and I might be wrong on this. I don't know if there's fact checkers out there, but so I won't say it. But there are some modalities that you don't utilize over orthopedic implants. This one you can, which is really cool. So people that have just like old chronic stuff that feels beat up, like we utilize that. And the mechanism is basically jumpstarts the cell. So the current goes through, it causes a depolarization of the cell, so the cell becomes more permeable. So we're getting it at the cellular level. That creates an internal heat. So then we get an internal diathermy. And then depending on the current that we pair with it, then we can also get the pain mitigation or the pain like upregulation with the contractions.
Wow.
It's like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, dude, that sounds crazy.
So this was when I started the clinic too. I wanted to have something that like was a high-end device to bring in for people, to add value for people.
Yeah.
Shockwave is ultrasound. Have you heard of Shockwave?
Mm-mm.
So Shockwave is more, it's more readily out there, and we have more research on it. But for chronic issues, plantar fasciitis, gluteal tendinopathies, Shockwave is becoming one of the gold standards of like a non-invasive way to treat something. The only problem is it's these deep sound waves that create an inflammatory response. So like people feel kind of beat up afterwards.
Yeah.
I have some people that we can utilize similar settings with TECAR therapy, and the same night or the next day they can go do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Versus with Shockwave, and I haven't gone through it, but my understanding and just hearing from people is you get that done and you need like 2 or 3 days to just like let it simmer because you want the inflammatory process.
Yeah. Something I always tell people, and it seems counterintuitive because we've always been told to ice stuff, right? But the inflammatory response is good. That means you can get those nutrients to that area to help it heal.
Yeah. And I think that's what's happening a lot of times with certain manual techniques. Like if people are sore afterwards, that's actually probably a good sign because we created a little local inflammatory response.
Oh yeah.
And if you guide that appropriately with rehab, now somebody can you're naturally stimulating that process.
Yeah. I used to get massages from this girl. I need to go back and see her. Melissa. Shout out Melissa. She's the only one that can ever get me to say uncle. I have this like chronic issue in my trap, which is why I want to come see you and try that thing. I don't know if it's a rib that's out because of a super tight trap thing, but years ago I damaged something in like deep in there, and it's never really been the same.
Yeah.
I gotta come try your thing for sure. But she was grinding her elbow in there, and I was sore for days afterwards. But I know that all I gotta do is drink a lot of water and take my vitamins and just keep moving and get the inflammatory response is good.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
I had this, so I had never really had like a formal massage, probably up until like 3 years ago. And it's weird being a chiropractor, but part of it was we were always used as like the lab.
Yes.
So, I mean, who knows how many times I've been adjusted. I probably have hypermobile everything.
Yeah.
But I saw this massage therapist and she worked on me and she did like 30 minutes at like my neck, my upper trap, same thing.
Yeah.
I got up off the table and she looked at me. She's like, you're gonna be feeling it.
Yeah.
So I went home. I like chugged a bunch of water. I had a stim unit to create like a local pump. Like I put the stim unit on. I did like a walk jog and I came back in and she's like, what's going on? And I go, I did like what I was supposed to. I just I kept it moving. She's like, you're not sore? And I go, no. I go, I felt like I was like thumb drunk last night or elbow drunk,
Yeah.
But you're right. If you do that, like you got to give your body the resources that it needs after the input.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Take recovery seriously, especially, if you are an athlete and you're constantly performing those same patterns over and over. Not only do you need to do the kind of exercises to, like we talked about earlier, correct or balance yourself out, but take your recovery seriously. If you live your life in fight or flight, when you work out, people don't understand this. When you work out, you're actually causing a stress response and a dip. You're damaging your body. And then if you don't come up to your baseline or hopefully higher than your baseline, right? you're just going to be below your baseline. And so you have to treat recovery equally as important as you treat your workouts.
Yeah. And even with sleep, like, again, I think the chiropractic physical therapy world can be kind of weird right now with everybody, pain science, and should people just be doing exercise, or should is manual therapy real? Like, there's all these different like viewpoints.
Yeah.
Everybody can agree that sleep is pretty important.
Sure.
And if your shoulder hurts and you can't sleep, and we could do something that allows you to get a good night's sleep, why would I not do that?
Right.
Why would anybody not do that?
Yeah.
I don't care if it's the placebo effect.
Yeah. I just had somebody on here last week talking about breath work. She does breath work.
Shout out
Sarah. Yeah, she's great. But we were talking about just, ways through using the breath to get to that rest and digest.
Mm.
I always mess up sympathetic and parasympathetic, but
sympathetic is going to be your fight or flight.
So the parasympathetic is where you want to be, right, for optimal recovery. So, while you have all these fancy tools and technology and stuff, that's great, but there's tons of stuff you can do without that just to help promote recovery. Breathing is one of them. Sleep is one of them. Staying properly hydrated. Take a relaxing yoga class,
Go for a walk.
Go for a walk. Get a massage. Whatever.
And imagine you stack like breathing with going for a walk and drinking some water.
Yeah. Pretty easy to do. Yeah. It's not groundbreaking, but it works.
I know. Yeah. I mean, and that's like yoga. I think that's one of the classes that I've taken that I always walk away feeling really good with is a class that's slow enough that allows me to like sync my breathing with movement.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do get a little flustered in yoga because like maybe it's too fast for me because I'm processing it and I don't know Sanskrit or the poses. Yeah. And I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing? Then next thing I know,
you're looking around, you lose your balance.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm getting flustered in my own head. But that's, it's a me problem.
Yeah, that's yoga.
Probably means I need it.
Right. Yeah. It's funny to me. I forget what I was talking. I don't know if it was on the podcast, but people have trouble at the end of classes, like the hardest part with the Savasana, where you're just laying there and, let your mind go blank, or so they try to. But that's like some of the hardest thing to do for people is to block everything out and just sit there with your own thoughts.
When I have people do the Normatec with the chair, that's the feedback I get is the first 5 minutes is the hardest part for them.
Right.
Yeah. And then because most of the time I have them in there for like 12 to 20 minutes. So they go, the first track played, they were like, and I was kind of like frazzled, and then then I took a nap.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's throwing everything at them, right? With the sound waves and the music and compression. It's like, if you can't relax in that.
Yeah, that's...
then you really need it.
I don't know if it's a red flag.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You need to regulate your nervous system.
Did you ever do the gong bath?
I have, yeah. It's amazing. I fell asleep, I think, but it was like, it's hard to tell. That state between awake and sleep where you're like hallucinating almost?
Yeah.
It was elongated for a while, and then I was like, whoa, it's very refreshing.
I think I was in there for like 90 minutes, and the first 20 minutes I was coherent, and then after that, I was done. And I just wanted to see, so I tracked it on my Whoop. I think my heart rate got into like the mid 40s at some point, which was really low for typically it's more like mid 50s, is where it sits. But for a nap at the end of the night, I was like, whoa, And then I think I had a great recovery the next day.
See? Yeah. And you felt amazing and ready to get after whatever you're doing the next day. My problem with those is if I fall asleep in a yoga class, I'll wake myself up by snoring.
That's what used to happen in class.
Yeah, that was always me. I wake myself and everybody else up. We got to wrap up. I have one question that I always ask everybody. It's the last meal question.
I've been ready.
You came prepared.
I've been preparing for this.
All right, so you got one last meal. You're on death row. What's it going to be?
So there's no right or wrong, right?
No, absolutely not.
So I think what I would want is a tapas style of all of these little bits of some of my favorite things.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to have probably maybe a cold brew maybe a cream soda, maybe a beer, like kind of all that I can just go crazy with. I also want this to be like the best answer because I've really thought about this. I think there would have to be like a little mini like bacon, egg, and cheese on a bagel with a hash brown would be like kind of the breakfast component. I would want green chicken enchiladas.
Oh, yeah.
I would want little mini chicken parms. I would want probably like just like the real like pasta and meatballs with like the fresh, what is it? It's like the grated cheese, but it comes in that like special tub. It's not Parmesan. It's a
Romano.
No. Yeah, I'll come back to it, but it's in like every Italian household. So I would have some chicken parm. I'm trying to think. I want the chicken enchiladas.
Pasta and meatballs.
Yeah, I'd probably have like a little bit of like, I'd probably have a fillet of some sort because why not,
meat,
right? Yeah. And then if I'm shifting towards dessert, my mom, shout out mom, if you ever watch this, she makes this cinnamon cake that is like the best. It's this old recipe that her mom got from somebody that lived down the street. So I think I'd have that with a cappuccino, maybe a little bit of ice cream. And I think that might be it.
That's pretty damn good.
I mean, I feel like I'm covering. Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
I think as an appetite, because I was thinking about this on the way, I would want chips and queso, as like a starter with maybe like some of my drink choices.
Yeah.
Like who doesn't love chips and salsa, chips and queso? Yeah. Like we'll step it up a little bit.
Definitely.
I do. I love like pancakes and waffles and all the things, but like I'm thinking like tapas style where I could just grab like a little bit of everything.
For sure. Yeah. A smorgasbord, a little bit of everything.
That's what I want.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Great answer, man. Great answer.
I mean, what's yours is like breakfast?
Breakfast. Yeah. It would be a very large breakfast. Steak, potato, hash browns, blueberry pancakes, cold beer, steak. Yeah.
Because nothing matters. It's like the last.
Yeah. I'll just gorge myself and get drunk and then die.
I'm kind of I'm like a salty to sweet to salty to, I don't know if you're like, I don't know the way that I could finish would I want to finish with sweet? Like, and honestly, guilty pleasure, spicy nacho Doritos. Like maybe at the end, like just a little spicy nacho Doritos.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible.
No, absolutely not. No.
But that's like, if I had like a guilty pleasure junk food, it's those.
The Doritos.
Yeah. If I'm ever feeling like down on myself, go to Stewie's.
Get some Doritos. Make yourself feel better. That's great. Nice, man. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Great conversation. If people want to contact you or get a hold of you for your services or whatever, how can they reach you?
So Instagram is Ecotone Health. The website is ecotonehealth.com. And on the web, like everything kind of links back to the website, but just a form request on the website. And then standard Google, if you Googled Ecotone Performance Health and Fitness, it was a long name. I don't know. When I first started, I don't know what I was thinking. My accountant wasn't that. He's like, this is a long name to write out. We learned. But even on there on the Google listing, there's phone numbers, there's emails, Ecotone Health. And last thing, Ecotone, it is a transition in two biological communities. So it's meant to actually mean something. Yeah, I don't think most people...
What does it mean?
So in biology, an ecotone is where two biological communities meet.
Okay.
So I was thinking like a play on words of like where like fitness meets rehab meets fitness.
Oh, yeah. Biology nerd. Science.
I didn't even, that's a whole other story, but it came from, I was reading this article in Texas and this guy was talking about why he loved the desert in El Paso. Yeah. And he was talking about how you could be in the mountains and you could see a cactus. And he goes, in biology, we call that an ecotone. And I go, that is so like.
I love that. I love that you love that,
I wasn't on my own. I was in Texas. I was working for this other company. And I remember I told Brendan, I go, if I ever start a business, I was like, I'm calling it Ecotone.
Hell yeah.
And, when that came, like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And then it's black, gray, white, or the cut. Like, it might not seem like it's curated that way, but like the name, like, I'm like, man, I wish everybody knew that, like, the name was, it meant something.
Yeah.
Because people are like, Ecotone.
Yeah. I didn't know, but now I know, and I appreciate it that much more.
Yeah. So what about like Green Fork?
Yeah, Green Fork came to me in college. I just had this idea that I wanted to bring fresh, healthy food to people and make it affordable and convenient. And I used to draw this little fork with roots all over my papers and whatever at school. I was a doodler. And then, when I just decided, it was like, it just came to me, and it was like, Green Fork, it's perfect.
That's awesome. See, that like the names mean something.
Yeah, that's why I'm digging what you're saying, But
it wasn't like, just like, there's so many bits, and there's not a knock, but it's like performance spine care.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, it's cool.
It's pretty on the nose.
But maybe it's a bad thing, but like, because people probably look at it and they have no idea what it.
Yeah.
They just see something like Ecotone.
Now they know. Yeah, now they know.
It's a good way to end it. Sorry for taking extra.
No, it's cool. I appreciate it, man. All right. Thank you, Pat, for coming on. I appreciate you.
Likewise.
I got to come see you and get my trap looked at with that the
TECAR unit.
TECAR. Yeah,
man.
I got to get that checked out.
I'm happy to have you come in.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week. Stay healthy, my friends.